be making the Solar Marine Uniforme, and this pattern is provided for free by Danny Choo. At least that would be what I understand. I am going to go ahead and make it at 100%, and they provide a scale. When you print it, just make sure that this is 10 centimeters. That way you have your pattern at the correct size. The pant pieces, because they're so long, are in two pieces, and you just have to match the respective symbol and match it. And then I just tape it. And then I cut out my entire pattern piece. And all the pant legs are like that. They all have different symbols, so you can tell which one is which. For this piece, both pieces are on the same line for the join. So match them first and then cut them out. On a couple of pages, the parts didn't print out completely. So what I did is I opened the file in my graphics program and I reprinted it so I can have all the parts printed out. These patterns don't have written instructions, but the instructions are actually in the form of graphics. So all these little lines that are on top of here, that indicates top stitching or stitching on the right side of the fabric. These little arrows point which way you're going to fold the seam. So in this case, you would fold it this way so that you can top stitch it. The outer lines are the cut lines. Inner lines are the sewing lines to put your seams together. The lines that are across the pattern with little arrows, that indicates the grain line. And then it always tells you what part of the pattern is and how many you cut of each. So in this case, it says ×2, so you would cut on the fold. These little triangular lines, that means serging. So I would serge all around here. And these lines are the lines to match the pattern pieces together. So see, this one indicates where the zipper ends. This FC is front center. And some of the patterns have little instructions like here, this to stitch to the seam allowance on the front side. This indicates neck point. It's also a mark. Back center. Again, which way you fold the seam goes. And SP is, I think it stands for shoulder point. So on this one, it has a circle and an arrow pointing that way. So this is the direction of the seam, like the direction of the top seam. You sew that way. Then B for back, F for front. This indicates the where the snap is. It tells you the size of the snap, how much of a stitch line or space between the seam and your top stitching, end of opening. This indicates that you would fold this under this little symbol here. And where it says divide, that means that you're going to not when you sew your seams, you're going to divide your seams. I'm going to start putting together the jacket first. So I put all the pieces on the side for the pants, and I'm going to cut them out. This is the collar, the back yoke, the back waist and the facing. These are the front yoke, the right side, the left side with the contrasting band. This is the side and the front of the jacket and the waistband of the jacket. And these two pieces are the facings of the front. Then we have the sleeve that's in 3 pieces, and a contrasting band that's going to be on the left side. My jacket pieces are laid out on the grain of the fabric, and then the pieces that are just one, I left this area here so that I can unfold this and cut them. And these are the 2 pieces that are going to be contrasting fabric. Starting with the back because it's the easiest, and the first thing that I'm going to do is mark my notches, my placement marks, by making a little snip on each placement mark, making sure that I don't cut into the seam line. And I will be doing all these snips on every single piece as I'm making them. I'll sew these 2 pieces, the back, along the center back, making sure that you follow the seam line exactly, because then you're going to open it and we're going to attach it to the yoke like this. And once we attach it to the yoke, it has here the little arrow where the seams are going up, and top stitch along here. I sewed the back together, serged it, and pressed it. So the seams should be pressed this way. I pressed it on the opposite way. And now I'm going to attach the yoke. And I was supposed to cut 1 piece. I didn't follow my own rules. I accidentally cut 2. So match the center. I'm going to pin it and sew it along that line. Serge it, and after I serge it, I'll come back and press the seam up and top stitch along this line right here. For the top stitching, what I do is obviously you fold your seam to where you're going to top stitch. You're going to catch your seam on the top stitch, and I use this this top stitch foot, and I place my needle about 1/8 of an inch away from this, and then I follow I follow that to make it nice and straight. This foot has a guide. So for now the back is completed, and we'll start working on the front. So let's put that to the side, find our front pieces. This is the facing, this is the front side, and the front. So this piece is going to be attached to this piece right here, the same as we did the back, matching the notches. You'll do that mirrored, and in this case the top stitch, the first top stitch is going to be along this seam. So after putting these pieces together, the same as we did the back, the same as I did the back, I should say, I'll serge it, and then I'll top stitch along this line. The fronts are sewn together and seamed, serged, and top stitched. Put the pieces of the pattern someplace safe because we're gonna need them for later. And now the next step, I am going to do the right front yoke and the left front yoke. It's like a little puzzle pieces. Okay, so first I'm going to attach the yoke to the front bottom of the yoke, which is the contrasting color. And then after these two are attached, I'm going to top stitch along this part and this part right across, and this part right across. So we're going to top stitch along the bottom here, along this, and along this side. The back is finished, and I finished the front sides. Attached the yoke and top stitched. Same thing for this side. Attach this part to the band, and then to the front and top stitched. I'm going to put those to the side and start working on the facings. So this is going to be attached to this along here. Okay, so I've pinned my front facings together, matching the notches. And I'm going to sew them, serge them, and top stitch. So I put my sides together, and I just wanted to mention that these seams are going to be completely covered. So I'm just going to trim them, and I'm not going to serge because the serging is just going to add some bulk. And since this is going to be top stitched towards this way, if you trim your seams, it'll be easier to top stitch it because you're folding the seams to where you're top stitching. Now that the facings are put together, I'm attaching the shoulder, the bodice at the shoulders. So it's all along this end and here. Put your shoulders together, and there's going to be top stitching along this part of the shoulder on the yoke. I'm putting the bodice to the side. And the facings. And I'm working on my sleeves now. So for the sleeves, I'm marking my notches, and then I'll attach the sleeve center to this side and the sleeve center bottom to this part. Top stitch along here. For attaching this curved part to this part of the sleeve, I made sure that I first pinned it on the notch, and then to accommodate the straight side on the curve, I made little notches so that I can sew it nice and flat. The sleeves are done, and I finger pressed the armband, and just so I don't get confused, this is the left side, so this is where the armband is going to go. I made a couple of notches there so I know how to position it, and I'm just going to pin baste it. And then top stitch it across and top stitch it on the bottom. Now that the patch is on, I'm going to sew the seams, and what I did is I folded over the long side and then I folded over the short side and kind of push this edge in so it forms a little, so that you can't see the serge seam. It forms a nice little point there. And I just clipped it in place to hold it, to keep its shape, because it's impossible to pin. And then I'll stitch along that line to form my hem. I went ahead and finished the seam on the sleeves, and I made a little gathering stitch here, and that's so that I can ease the sleeve. so it helps form the sleeve. And the stitch will be straight, no gathers on the outside. I also did go ahead and make a stay stitch on this line. It's a stitch just inside the seam line so that I can clip it to make this seam straight to fit into the sleeve. It'll help fit into the sleeve as well. So this is the, we'll pin it in front to front. The sleeves are attached, so the next step that I'll do is close the ends on each side. Now the hems, the sides are sewn. So I'm going to turn it inside out, and then I will attach the back waistband to the front at the sides. The waistband, I sewed it together, and the seams are going to be flat like this. So don't serge them. And they're going to be covered with the facings, so you're not going to see it at all. See, one seam faces that way and the other seams face that way. So now we're going to attach that to the waistband. Make sure your seams, your side seams on the jacket go toward the back. Match your seams and match your ends and pin all the way around, and then sew it. I went ahead and attached my waistband, and I trimmed the seam, and I basted it along the seam where the zipper is going to be attached. Okay, so the next step is before attaching the hem facing in the back, serge along the upper side of the facing. After serging the upper side of the facing like so, we're going to attach this facing to the front facings along the sides. And I didn't serge my facings yet on purpose because I want to make sure this seam is the correct size. And I have a tendency to cut off some of the fabric when I serge, so I don't want to cut the seam allowance off, because then my seam allowance won't match. So then after I attach the facing to the front facings, then I'll go ahead and serge along the shoulder, along here, and along the sides, catching the facing. And then we'll have our facing ready to be attached. Okay, so I connected my waistband facing to my front facings. It should look like this. And after connecting them, I serged along the outside edges. So now comes the zipper. So here's my basting stitch. That's where the zipper is going to fold. And I'm attaching the zipper between the lining and the front, using this as my fold line or my seam line. And then the zipper has a line that this is where I'm going to sew along. So facing the zipper right side to right side, start where your seam starts, and at the end here I just clip it because this has some kind of plastic here and it's hard to pin through, or nylon. And then I just match my zipper sewing line to the basting stitch that I just did. And that basting stitch, I'm gonna pull it out after this is done, so it's a really long stitch. Hopefully my head's not in the way. And then I'll do that all the way to where the zipper ends. I'll stop where the zipper ends. And first I'm going to attach the zipper by basting it, not directly on the sewing line, but just outside. Because then I'm going to go ahead and catch everything with the facing. So the zipper is going to be sandwiched in between the facing and the front, and that's when I'm going to sew directly on the line that I basted up to where the zipper ends. So after careful consideration, I decided to hand baste the zipper, and then I'm going to sew it along the mark. And this is what it's going to end up looking like on the right side. Now, this is where we attach the facing. So you're going to attach the facing, pin it like you would anything. And then the zipper, we're going to pull the zipper pull down so that it's not and then when we sew this part, when we get to the top here, I'm going to fold the zipper like so and sew right across there, because then I'm going to cut it. And then we're going to sew exactly on the line, on the seam that you made for your zipper. As I'm sewing the facing, I sewed up to here, then I pulled my zipper pull down and fold this side down, and then I'll sew the rest of the way, all the way up. Now I'm taking my basting stitch out. And you can cut this end of the zipper. Now the other zipper is going to be attached the same way as we did this side, except it won't be as hard here because there's no zipper pull on the other side. Okay, so now both sides of the zippers are in. And hopefully my zipper is in correctly because I went ahead and cut it. Now I'm going to, you can trim your seams a little bit. I don't cut my zipper tape. I might not even trim any. And now sew it along the edge, the bottom edge. Sew the whole thing along the bottom edge here, closed. Make sure that this seam goes towards the back so that when you flip it around, it lays correctly. So this seam all the way across. Now I'll just trim my corners. I'm going to trim my seams down the bottom. And then I will flip it around. Let me trim this a little bit more. So I pressed everything down, and what I'm going to do is I'll take this this part of the facing and attach it along the sides to the back of the jacket, and attach it here at the shoulders so that it doesn't flip over. And then after I do that, I'm going to top stitch all the way along the zipper and all the way around the waistband, and then back up to the zipper. So top stitching is all done. And I did attach the facing to the sides here. I didn't attach it at the top because of the seam is top stitched, but you can. I'm going to attach it by hand. Just do a little stitch here and a little stitch here. Actually, the collar is going to take care of that, so I'm just going to do a little stitch here at the very end at the shoulder. Now I'm going to start attaching the collar. So for the collar, I did a stay stitching, not exactly on the seam line, but just enough so that I can clip into the curve so it can fit into the collar between the notches. And I'll hand baste it just because it's easier than having all the pins there while I'm sewing. Okay, collar is sewn across. I'm going to trim it at the corners and on the sides. And across the top. I just finger pressed that seam in, and now we can turn it around. And once this is done, you're going to press it and turn the seam under. And I'll be basting it just so that I don't miss the seam. And then top stitch all the way around. So yeah, this is definitely better. So what I do is I open my seam here and fold it in. So let's fold it in nice and even. And now I can sew across here. Same thing on the other side. Okay, the collar is attached. And one thing I would have done differently was I would have pre-pressed this under collar. Because honestly, I don't like the way it came out. But I'm not going to redo it again. It looks nice. Looks okay on the outside. And now all that's left to do is just attach the snap at the neckband, at the collar. And then the moment of truth. Let's see if it fits. I have to take her hands off even though she's got fisted hands. This is a pretty tight fit, according to the oh, it's very, very tight. So I don't know if it's the fabric that I used or that I didn't do my seams correctly. Because it's mostly tight on this armband. So I'm glad I didn't shrink the pattern either. But now I know this is the first time that I made this pattern. I usually do a mock-up on definitely won't fit if you get a bigger bust. But I'm okay with the way it came out. And this fabric is not stretchy at all. So I also think that if you use a fabric that's light and has a little stretch to it, it'll be better. Well, I hope you learned something from this, from my experience. I didn't think I was gonna like the colors, but I actually do. There's so many things you can do with this jacket. Like you can do the band across both sides if you want to make it different. And even just do this mirrored, the band here and the band around. That looks good. I'll be keeping this one. I won't sell it. But I'm going to make another one just like this and then make it just a little bit looser. Especially at the arms. The original one is pretty tight as well. But the fabric is, no, the fabric doesn't stretch. Just for comparison, I'm going to put the original one on her. See how it looks. Actually, the one that I made is pretty spot on. This was really hard to put on the sleeves. I had to take the arms off and then snap them in. I had to take off the hands. And it's the same size. The only thing different that I did is my zipper is a little bit shorter, so there's more of a gap here. But everything else looks almost as if it had been made by them. So I'm satisfied with it. But I'll definitely make the next one. I'll enlarge the pattern. I think I'll enlarge it by 1%. Or maybe just not enlarge the pattern, but sew my seams not at the whole 1/4 of an inch that they have, just less than a 1/4 of an inch on the arms, because I like the way it fits on the body. And then the collar, I'll be more careful when I'm sewing it on. Anyway, thank you for watching, and I hope this was somewhat helpful.